Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, I'm always in search of the top 0.1%, getting their insights and distinctions and sharing with you today. So today's Memorial Day, and I'm happy to introduce Luis Contreras. We are going to talk about this new platform, augmented reality, innovating social connections for networking, relationships, communications, and I'm happy to welcome him onto the show and share his story. So, Luis, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me on. Excited to be on your show.
Yeah, I know we had connected through Podmatch, so tell the audience out there your story, how you got started, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I started my career in the automobile business, actually completely off from the tech startup, but I've always had a passion for tech and innovation through that, and becoming one of the leaders in a Fortune 500 company, with, our company being public. I got a lot of experience into, just launching new products. And through that love for tech, I had this idea, and this idea took a mind of its own. I actually went, I've always worked with the Fortune 500 companies, so it was about budgets and maintaining, so everything was been strategic. So, before I got into this field, it's actually funny. I decided to get into this field with this idea I had, but chase it with the patents first, because it's very expensive to start a tech company and start an app. So using our network, and I think that's one of the things that's fascinating, depending on where you work, the network that you build around you, a lot of the times you don't, it takes time to connect those dots, and you realize I already have people that will kind of guide me on this path. And it was, it took a little bit of a luck to get it going, kind of pushed me in the right direction. I had I'm always dabbling in the stock market, and I love option contracts. And it was a day that it was a day that tech really boomed. I had Tesla, I had Amazon, and I had Netflix. I don't know if you remember, it was like a day where tech really just went off. And I woke up in the morning, I was up like 8K, and I was like, okay, unexpected. Within an hour, I was up 20. I mean, by the time that the day finished, I was up 51. And again, this was an account that I had just to dabble in. So I told myself, look, this money is going to go towards the app. And I did the trademarks, I did the patents, and the rest of it went towards the wedding. It was fascinating, like the luck that I had within that little path. But if I always say it's about timing. If I would have chased starting the actual app at that moment, it wouldn't have worked, because the tech that we're using has only existed for about a year and a half. So it was very interesting that I waited, because I got approvals for those patents about 2 years ago. And then we just started with the proof of concept. And, it's having a team that's dedicated to doing something and building it from scratch. I think it's a fascinating thing, watching it unfold and watching, it's all about timing. We're rolling out this augmented app, and Apple's rolling out their augmented glasses, this upcoming event that they have rumored, but we're excited. We look at augmented reality as a way of enhancing your everyday. We do see the use of augmented reality now when you look at things like Pokemon Go. You look at like IKEA, where you can see what furniture looks like in your office space. But when we think about social media now, you can have somebody that's connected, with 30,000 followers, but in the real life, they feel like they're disconnected from humanity. People go to their phones and unplug. And we just heard from the attorney, the Surgeon General, talk about the loneliness epidemic that, people are facing now. And I think that's big. A lot of people suffer from being disconnected from the real world. And the way that we're building UON, it's a way to connect, not just for dating, not just for networking, but just, creating fun events for people that they could see real-time statuses with people like, same likeness in different events that they could share. Like think about a Comic-Con, or somebody that's just creating an event within an apartment complex It's just a fun way to meet people and see people's active status, so you know who's a part of it. And I think that's the biggest thing when we were creating this. We were looking at how can we give people that access in real time without being too intrusive to your own data.
Mm. Yeah, so fascinating. Really, this the first what I remember is Facebook allowed us to connect, but that was through desktops and laptops, and now mobile. And so we'll talk a little bit about augmented VR, MR. But you have this first thing I have is looking through your profile, you talk about UON. What is that?
UON, it's just kind of the
Yeah.
question, right? Like just asking somebody UON. And we always, when I first thought about it, it was so important to me because when people share their Instagram now, like, can we get your IG? Right? That's what they'll say. Like, can I get your IG? Or Snapchat, they'll be like, can I get your Snap? With us, it's just, UON. And UON means so much, right? To be on this platform when you're on it, we're looking at it like a utility app, right? Not only a way to connect to your friends and family, because of the way that we're building it. Like think about one of the aspects of the ones that we're really excited about, allowing groups, even though, like, say we go out to an outing, but I don't have your personal information. I met you through a friend, and you don't want to share it, but we're all going to this event, like a local bar to drink. To keep us safe for the night, there's a group code that's given, and now everybody for the next 2 hours is going to be geofenced to this location, which is the bar. Now somebody gets drunk, they start walking away, it'll notify the designated person. And that way it'll give you a live view to call, text, or just see them in augmented reality to keep that group together. And that's the way that we thought about it originally, but now you're thinking about maybe a teacher that has 30 kids and they're not all sharing their personal information, but they're part of this event. To keep these groups together, now you have the ability to do it for a couple of hours, and that they're safe within this museum or this park that we went to go on this field trip with. So we're really, really excited about all the possibilities, but that's the way that we carry it. Are you on? And we thought it was a fun way to kind of get it across, and we're happy that we're able to get that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I watch what's going on. I love trends, and I love to see. I'm very curious about. I'm always fascinated by what people are doing. This space that you have, this AR, VR, social networking, connections, meeting. You also talk about dating as well. Tell us where you see the field and the space moving from social connections, from Zoom and mobile to actual into metaverse and virtual worlds.
Yeah, I think it's, when we looked at the metaverse, right? So during the time that we were actually getting to build this, there was a big push at the time for the metaverse. And, I think the hard part is that with the metaverse, when it came out, I think it's a great product, but it really relied on you having the glasses, right? And with what we're building, we're building it around the mobile phone. So you don't have to buy any additional software, hardware. And it's already going to be, something that you're able to have in your hand to interact with other users. And I think with the limited amount of users that you saw on the metaverse, it made it a less engaging experience. So if we could, and I think everything's about popularity, right? Like you know that everything was augmented reality and VR when Meta was making that big push, and now everything's AI, right? Like the AI push, and how are we going to use that? And I think it's a combination of both. We're excited to see what we're going to do because we think that there is a big disconnect right now with people and being able to interact in person. Like there's nothing out there right now that you could use while you're out at a place to make that connection, right? Everything is kind of geared towards maybe it'll get you there, but then there's that big disconnect. And what do? Often we get on our phones to help us feel more comfortable, right? Even though you have that surrounding where there's other people, it makes us uncomfortable, and we don't use our phones to connect with them. We use it to disconnect and go back to our safe zone, to watch a video, to text a friend. And we just see the phone as, like there's been that missing link. And if we could provide people with that missing link, then it's a space that really hasn't been held by anybody when I was thinking about this, when we were producing it with the developers, they're like, well, there's nothing that we could really go off of because nothing like this exists for phone to phone, right? You see, gaming, but it involves the camera, and the way that we did it, it involves other, different signals on your phone. So just building it from scratch was fun. But then you look at all the possibilities, because the way that we're building this social media platform, one of the things that I didn't touch on is when you have, it's going to be almost like a Instagram profile page, but you're going to have these pictures that you take, and you're going to save the exact location where you took them. So you'll be able to later on share those memories. Like if you go to the lake, you'll be able to have actual guidance to go exactly where you were standing when you took that picture. And I think that's another thing to look at with the way that we build it. When you tag a location, it's kind of a broad sense, right? If I go to the lake, I'm gonna tag the whole lake, but you want to have that personal stamp that you left at that place. And one of the other things that we're doing with that same, imagine, well, the way that we're building it, when you look at Disneyland right now, you're going to be able to go to Disneyland, look at all the rides, look at all the food descriptions, click on it, and get guidance there. So we're using our same AR tech to, find rides, find food attractions, think about casinos, being able to find all the amenities within the casino, find the blackjack table. It's small guidance to when you're, at these places that are, you could use it. How many times have you, well, I don't know, for myself, we lose our car and then we're just trying to find where our car is. The way that GPS works right now, it's a dot, you're looking down on your phone, but since you're in a parking structure, it can't really give you guidance, because all it could tell you is that you're this dot and your car is that dot, right? So you kind of have to figure out the rest. Well, with us, all you're going to do is point your phone up, and it gives you guidance to how to get there. And all we want to do is get pointed in the right direction.
Interesting. Talk a little bit about this idea. It's interesting because, Facebook was the first company that viewed social connections as a network. And now we're moving into these from the physical to digital. Now it's going to be like kind of phygital or virtual spaces. What are some of the interfaces that you'll need? Because you have an app, right? But then how is it, is it going to connect to your Oculus or Apple Lens, or, describe how kind of the customer.
Well, yeah, you can use them that way, but you won't need to. Just with your phone by itself, we'll have an augmented display on your phone right now. So when you download this app, when we launch in about a month, you'll be able to have everything you need just in the palm of your hand. And what makes us different is that we're using augmented reality just to enhance your everyday experience. So as opposed to being completely immersed in the augmented reality, some companies focus on like the graphics, the displays. Ours is just more the utility. We're using augmented reality just to be able to guide you to this food attraction, to guide you to a match, to be able to find your friends. So think about it like a FaceTime call. You're going to be able, so you have friends that you're meeting at the beach. You're going to be able to just connect. And the moment you connect, you'll be able to see their actual location using a dot. And not only that, using a dot, but also using guidance on the bottom, which tells you an arrow on how to get there and how far they are. So that just makes it so much easier to connect. You'll just like a FaceTime call, you pick up, it's not intrusive, it's not going to be continual. You just pick it up at that moment, you're sharing your location, and then you disconnect and you no longer share it. And I think it's such a useful tool, because right now, if you share your location, so say if you're at the beach, it'll take you to the parking structure, but you still got to figure out how to get to your friends. And this gives you all the way up to the person, connects you within meters. And that's just fascinating to watch in real life, to have two people that could connect and in ways that just never was possible before.
Interesting. I love how you described it's a utility as opposed to, different, like it's like the use case. It's in a very, very similar to kind of like how Uber kind of geo-positions riders. And now, in this day of age, we have bad actors, stalkers, etc. Safety. How do you address that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the ways that we're building it, even for the dating concept. So I'll go first to just sharing your location with friends. You won't be able to see anybody else's location unless they pick up this call and they connect. So one of the ways that we look at it is that, when you're going to connect with a person, there's nobody else that's going to see that one-on-one connection. And then you turn it off. Even with the person that you're sharing it with, there's no continual guidance to you. Once you disconnect from the call, it's over. And I think that's the way to keep it, make sure that it's less intrusive. You're not having somebody, like there's a Find My Friends now, but you got to continuously share that location. And the way we thought about it, it's just like, when I'm trying to meet up friends, that's all I want to do is meet them. And then that's it. Now, with the dating aspect of it, the thing that we really like is that the user is in complete control. You're going to be able to turn on your status when you want to share your status, but the status is only going to represent you by a dot. And the dot is going to be green or red, depending if you guys connect. So it's not going to share your name. It's not going to share your personal information. And it's not available beyond 25 feet. So it's just with people that are sharing this within a room. So you're not going to have somebody says, oh, I'm looking to find my match, and they're like, a mile away, and the exact location. No, this is only going to be something that's visible within those 25 feet. Mm-hmm. And the person in control is going to be able to just turn it on and turn it off. It makes for a great way to find people that have your like preferences in a smaller venue, wherever you guys decide to turn this on. It'll let you know when there's other users in the area, but they have to participate. And I think that's what makes it better, is that you want to make sure that at all times the user is in control. We want to provide a way for people to connect, but we're always in mind of like, how do we make this user experience great? Even when you're a part of this and you're by the person, you won't be able to send them messages. It still relies on having a human connection and just saying hi to the person. So when you look at the social media aspect, we always advise users not to post anything with exact location within 2 miles of their residence, just to keep it safe. I mean, like you see now, you could go on Facebook and post a restaurant that's around the corner from your house. You could already do something like that for that exact restaurant, but we always advise that when you're making these, marks and geolocation, to keep that in mind.
Yeah. I was just about to ask you, because the Facebook, they have these check-ins, and then, recently they're able to broadcast to your networks, whether it's a storm or mass casualty, situation, you can broadcast to your network that, you're okay. So, sounds like very similar. Any differences with that feature, compared to Facebook or Meta now? That's what it.
Yeah. So with the connection that you have, it's like users have to participate to be a part of this live event. So it's a little bit different in that aspect. But, I'm glad that you brought up that live situation where there's a concern in the area. When we were building this, one of the things that we talked about as a group, it was like, how useful would this tool be in case of an emergency? You have situations that are live shooter situations, and like the one that happened in Las Vegas, and people are running, trying to share your location at that point, it gets very difficult. And you want to see, because that location I shared with you, I might have to move from that location. So you want a live way to find your friends or family members during that time of, need. And this provides that, right? You're continuously finding your friends. And there's so many possibilities when it comes to this. We think about the people that were in Florida, right? And it's hard to give your location to an officer when your house is underwater, right? And you're having to move. But if you could provide that sense for, your family members, so you can know the exact positioning, it's not like you're going to get directions on how to walk. It's literally a live dot that shows you what direction to head in. And because of that, it's so much faster than regular GPS. GPS will kind of reroute two people constantly, right, as they're moving. Well, with this one, it's just not going to have to reroute you. It's just giving you the position, like a dot, and the distance, and that continues to update. It's a lot easier to update in that fashion. So we think the safety aspects, to keep families together, even if, I have a daughter, she's 13, she loves to go to Disneyland with her friends, just for me to know when she's leaving the park or where she's at, so we could start heading over there. It just being able to use the beta, it's made everything so much easier. Not only that, parking my car, I want to tell you how many times I've lost my car at Dodger Stadium, and this is already one big step up.
Yeah, so funny. The parking is like you're like walking on.
And that's one of the funniest things. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and where he was like, Lewis, I thought about your app the other day because I haven't given him permission to the beta yet. We're still getting the little quirks out of it. But he goes, I was at Dodger Stadium. I'm walking for about an hour and a half. I know that I'm somewhere in the area, but I just can't find it. We look at it as a way to just enhance your everyday. And that's the way that it should be.
Yeah.
When you think about augmented reality, I think one of the big pluses is if you could use it in your daily routine and it just makes it a little bit better. A lot of the way that augmented reality is built now, it's kind of this virtual display and it's cool to look at. But one of the questions that you're always asked is like, how would I use it in my everyday? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I love looking at what they create, but how am I going to use this besides to enjoy myself for a couple of minutes as I play this game? What other ways could I use it? And that's kind of the question that I asked myself when I thought about this idea is that what can I do now that's missing in the world? And then you look at people that have lost that human connection or the way to connect in that aspect. There's a lot of people looking to be seen and they just don't know how, right? Not everybody's going to go to the bar, to the club, and there has to be another safer way to do it. And you look at the dating apps and kind of everything's a mirror of each other, right? You have like, the Tinder, the coffee meets bagel, and it's kind of a little difference, but they're pretty much the same. So and if you're looking at the way that we're building this, when you go on a dating app, you're competing against thousands of profiles and they're all filtered and you have this people with this perfect bio. A lot of the people don't really get that full experience with the dating app because they don't find the connections to talk to people. And then even then, once you do get the chat, it just seems like it's a very limited experience because people have so many options. And if you have so many options, you're just going to the next one and to the next one. So when we were building this, talking to people that are going through that experience, they go, I really like the fact that there's another avenue because a lot of people do go out and they want to be seen and being in that real world connection, it's just a whole different experience.
Really interesting. Go ahead. Sorry, you're going to say something?
Yeah. And I go back to the dating platform of it, but it's not just that, like think about networking events and how this could really change the way you look at a networking event. So that you're going to, get to this networking event. Now you have the different, you're either an engineer, you're a doctor, you're in marketing, you're in sales, to be able to see these categories and see them live in person. It's another icebreaker, but then who's a part of the event. And talking to people now, like our PR team, they talk about it and they're like, like this would make it so much easier for these events, right? Where people are just looking to connect to the right person. And now you have this in front of you. They go, we're excited to see where this is going to go. But it's just another way for people to connect.
Yeah, really interesting. Really interesting on how you're using location and usually using data to facilitate social connection interactions. Could be for everything. Could networking, dating, events. So really interesting. How can people contact you, follow you, reach out to you, check you out on social media?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's UON mobile app, or you can find me under UON CEO. UONapp.com is our website. You'll have all of our social media there. We're excited. The app is going to be hitting the App Store, we think, mid-June. And then you'll be able to find it under UON, UON. So we're excited to share that and our vision of what we're trying to create.
Excellent. Very interesting. For all the audience out there, let's thank Lewis for coming onto the show. Fantastic conversation. All of his resources will be in the links and show notes. And thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Chris, thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.